Hey, get on in here. It's the Sixers Talk podcast knocking at your door once again. We're brought to you by Wilmington University, Wilmington Works. So glad you could be here with us once again. Danny Pommells, Noah Levick, and Amy Fadool here to try to make sense of what we've seen from the Sixers squad as they've come back to earth a little bit here over their last 4 games for sure. Losers of 3 of their last 4, taking it on the chin in some ways where they should have gotten wins, specifically against the Bulls. Did not happen, in an epic comeback that you hated to witness as a Sixers fan. And, some tough losses here in between, but we'll discuss it all and break down what exactly is going on with Jared McCain and the mysterious Don Barlow injury that continues to linger. But Amy's elbow is primed and ready. But here we are, guys, enjoying some real throwback vibes with the Sixers court, the beautiful black jerseys. We had Eric Snow on the broadcast over the weekend. And the goldfish, you have the goldfish in tow, Amy, although they are just regular goldfish, but the packaging is pronounced. And
delicious.
Look at that. Yeah, you got to ISO cam that.
Look at this.
Yeah, pretty cool as the Sixers are throwing
Kate
it back.
Scott snagged these for me. I didn't get them. They didn't give them to me. They gave them to Kate, and she shared them. She left them.
The Mitchell and Ness releases and the whole 9 yards. But like I mentioned, the Sixers coming back down to earth a bit, although Tyrese Maxey really is not a tough shooting game his last time out. But all the same, only 2 players in NBA history have opened a season with 10 straight 25-point or more and 5 or more assist games. It is Maxey. And can you guess the other person on that list? Amy.
It's Allen Iverson.
It is Allen Iverson. What a company to join.
And 11. He only has 11, so one more and Maxey ties it.
Specifically in this era where we're enjoying all of what Iverson did in that MVP season, and here he is running neck and neck with Iverson in so many ways. Noah, they've played 3 back-to-backs. They are on the cusp of playing their 3rd game against the Celtics. Are they surviving this early going with, not having Joel Embiid at full strength, Jared McCain working his way back, Paul George not available? Are they surviving at this point through these first 10 games, or are they thriving? Where are you at in there? Or maybe some of that gray in between area?
Yeah, I'd say somewhere in between. I mean, I think looking at the schedule before the year, if I were to go game by game, I wouldn't have gotten everyone right. I wouldn't have predicted a 5-0 start, but I would have likely said something around 6-4. I think, of course, Tyrese Maxey's play has been a huge bright spot. He's been one of the best players in the league thus far, and I would say it's still remarkable that he is thriving despite playing 41 minutes per game. It's just a staggering number in the modern NBA. He's the only guy over 40. And yeah, I think Embiid, there's still obviously some frustration about the minutes restriction, but does feel like they're getting a little bit better sense of how to use him. Like in the Toronto game, for instance, I thought Nick Nurse played it well. He saved, 3.5 minutes for Embiid at the end of the game, and that helped the Sixers bring it home. Yeah, and as we'll discuss, Jared McCain is available, but certainly not back to himself. And you've still
hasn't hit a basket yet. He has not had a basket yet.
He is 0 for 7 from the floor in, I think, 23 minutes. So not what he was hoping for, but very understandable rust and all of that. So, yeah, I think still some big lingering X factor sort of stuff with Paul George not yet, being active. And then as we'll get into, opening night starter Dom Barlow remains out. And those are still, notable guys on the injury list. But I think, to me, the Chicago game obviously stands out as one the Sixers are bitter about, and pretty inexcusable to lose that one after being up 24. But yeah, I think outside of that, hard to fault the effort in these games. I think they've stayed true to that, self-professed identity of being a scrappy, competitive team. And they'll hope to do well in this next stretch and sort of establish themselves as, look, we're a lot better than 500. And, I think that's not outlandish to think that they can get that done, health permitting. But you sure need Tyrese Maxey to remain healthy, and you can't really take that for granted when you're playing 41 minutes a game. Of course, we saw last year, Maxey picked up the hamstring injury, and those sort of injuries do unfortunately tend to happen more when you've got such a heavy load. So I think it remains imperative that he's still available because he's the head of the snake right now for the Sixers.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you can kind of compartmentalize these games in a way. Obviously, the Pistons, the Cavs, the as well as the Bulls, and where things have gone here so far. You think about you lose this Cavaliers game because apparently some kid on 2K said Donovan Mitchell was washed, and he came out and dropped 46 on the 76ers. I mean, you can't even make stuff like that up, but it seems like that was the catalyst. He was quick to say that, in the post-game show. You got the big comeback against the Bulls where, Joel has really torched them and really given them the business, but it was a game where you had to have, particularly on that back-to-back, where you lose the next game and fall, but then a game against the Pistons where you also could have won. And you have the Trendon Watford game against the Raptors kind of mixed in there. It'd be a surprise, Amy. And imagine the odds on a Trendon Watford triple-double in that game. You could have made full scholarship money for college for sure. For sure, if you had taken the Trendon Watford triple-double in that game, but I'm sure it wasn't available anywhere. I mean, who would have expected that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have seen if that's one of those you can make your own bet. I don't even know how you do it, but it would have been one of those, just even to get like over 15 rebounds would have been in a crazy bet because he had, these, impressive numbers, and he really was very good in that game. But that game was a good game overall. That's a much better Raptors team. They're very rangy. They have they went small. For them, they don't have the traditional centers, but they have a lot of guys that are very rangy, and Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, even Emmanuel Quickly. These guys are very long with the defense. So I thought it was a very good game. It was the first game that I think we saw Joel Embiid really run the court a bit, defend, play inside, and, kind of try to exploit that undersized matchup right there. But Trendon Watford, he fits very seamlessly really with this offense and the style, and it was good to see. He didn't have as good a game the next game out, but I think that he is a very nice fit at that 4 position for them. It's creating a really good issue, which is an issue of where do these minutes go? Paul George, Noah mentioned it. Nick Nurse said earlier that this past weekend, that was the last hurdle to get the doctors to clear him. So you're thinking you're going to see him, sometime this coming week, possibly. And then it's like, okay, so there's his minutes. What, and you guys know my thoughts. Nothing with a 3 should be attached to Paul George, not his position, and his minutes should not start with a 3, but they probably will. And that's just me, being a little bit, I guess, I don't know, salty, but it'll be interesting because he does have a lot of options, and there's guys at the end of the bench that can contribute that are not going to be able to. But I think it's, a 6-4 record is pretty good. I think if you thought that at the beginning of the season, the first 10 games, given the fact that they would have played the Celtics twice and the Cavaliers and the Pistons, I mean, these are all teams and the Magic that are all expected to be in the top 6 of the East. I think you thought you would have taken 6-4. It just looked a little bit different at times, especially the way they started to the way they've been finishing. But, I liked some things in that Pistons game. That's a good Pistons team, very good defensively. And I liked a lot of things that I saw in the Raptors game.
There was a turning point in that Pistons game in the second half. Cade Cunningham had 2 points. Kelly Oubre had a stop on him where the Sixers didn't even get the ball. The Pistons retained the ball, but he celebrated, and that flipped the switch on Cade Cunningham because he just went nuts in that third quarter and second half after that point. And that ridiculous drive and dunk on Andre Drummond. Woo! I mean, there were some people who were, saying he was a bit underwhelming in some ways at some point here in his progression. But I don't know if those people are even going to voice those opinions or own up to those comments.
Yeah, if they tweeted that, they need to delete that tweet.
Say it again.
They have to delete that tweet if they tweeted that out. You got to delete
as advertised. So very tough for the Sixers. And let's stay on Trendon Watford for a little bit because with all the Quentin Grimes stuff that happened in the offseason. He ends up, coming back on the 1-year deal. Fans lamented the fact that Gershon Yabusele got away at such a reduced rate where you felt like his numbers, based on what he signed with the Knicks, could have worked here, and he could have had a second season in Philly after such a resurgent first year back in the NBA and what he was able to contribute to this team. But enter Trendon Watford, who comes in on a 2-year, $5.3 million deal almost, and suddenly with that type of performance against the Raptors, it makes you forget about anything that Gershon Yabusele was able to contribute to this team, because Watford is so versatile, can handle the ball, can shoot it, pass it, obviously. Rebound. It was, like you said, underwhelming a bit after the triple-double against the Raptors with his performance against the Pistons, but definitely giving Nick Nurse some trouble deciding who's going to play when and how much with the way he's contributed.
Yeah, I agree you wouldn't have penciled him in for a triple-double, but as that game's unfolding, naturally you look up, has he had a triple-double before?
Almost had it at halftime.
A little surprised he hadn't, and also I was surprised that his career high going in was only 8 assists. His ability as a passer is pretty special. I don't even think you really need to throw in caveats about, for a 6'8", 6'9" player. He has such variety, such a great feel for the game, and it was a lot of fun to watch when they were just running those pitch actions, DHOs with Maxey, fake handoffs. He was crafty and very effective going to the rim at several and ones. So yeah, absolutely the game of his life. And I was honestly a little surprised how well he clicked with Maxey. I obviously expected him to have a good sense of, how to quickly integrate with a new team and how he could help. But there was some real power of friendship stuff going on there. Like, their chemistry together was absolutely brilliant. Had that one between the legs assist to set up a Maxey 3 that Joel Embiid tossed in there on occasion. And this Maxey said this is the kind of night, they're both going to remember when their careers are over. So it was cool that Watford got to experience that in his very first start. And absolutely, it makes you think about what potential this guy might have. He just turned 25 years old last night. This is his first chance to play, hopefully, for the Sixers on a winning team, contenderish team. So can his skills shine a little more in a winning environment? And can he make some improvements? I think he's aiming to become a better three-point shooter, and he's learning about how he can fit next to star players. So definitely an intriguing player here for the Sixers 10 games in, and doesn't seem impossible that he keeps trending up for this team.
Yeah, calls himself a point forward. And I think, you hit the nail on the head when it did seem surprising that his career high was 8 assists, because he is such an adept passer and he's always kind of looking to get his teammates involved. And it looked like he was trying to get Tyrese Maxey maybe involved to the most. But it really, he is a very good, assist guy. He's a good passer out there. He sees the court very well. You can see him when he was making cuts, even without the ball. Just trying to get in positions to help the team. He plays, I think, really seamlessly in this offense right now.
Yeah, definitely. And, they lost last night to the Pistons, but you have to have enjoyed the competitiveness, which Tyrese Maxey has talked about, and the fact that haven't quit in so many of these games. It will be really interesting to see how they play against the Celtics here for a third time, because we've seen them lose one and win one. Could have won a second game. Frustrating ending to last night's game because of the way that final possession went, where they were kind of playing hot potato with the basketball, although Coach Jim Lyman, give him credit, was really giving all the credit to the Pistons in the post-game show.
Very good defense.
Staying in front of the Sixers and not allowing any of those quick twos or straight line drives and forcing them to either shoot a three or just get no shot off. But Amy, that cutaway to Tobias Harris on the bench.
Diabolical.
That three in front of it was the funniest.
Diabolical.
The funniest thing. The fact that he had no reaction was even better than if he had kind of like gotten upset or smiled.
It was. So Maxey hits the bucket and he goes over and he points at him, but then the camera zooms in like it's as if I'm Tobias and it's just like this.
Right.
And it's the only person you see on the camera on the screen is just Tobias, and it is a slow pan in, and I'm like, and he's wearing street clothes, and it's just like that was absolutely diabolical. And I don't know who the camera guy was on that. Josh Schrager is the game producer, so he's the one that helps call for the cameras. The director obviously calls for the cameras as well. I have to I don't know if it was Mike Harmon, but I want to give them a shout out because that was hilarious. It was hilarious. And I think, Maxey was just saying, hey, I see you. Like he did the other day when he dunked on, he blocked Emmanuel quickly. And he stared down. I'm like, it's obviously all in good fun. He and IQ are friends. He and Tobias, I'm sure, are still friendly. I think they had a good relationship. I'm sure they still do. Tobias is a very nice guy. I can't imagine.
Not get along with Maxey. Let's be serious.
Yeah, exactly. Those are two very nice people. I'm sure they get along. But just the zoom in was just so great because it just looked like he was just standing there, just wearing his street clothes, wondering.
Moments of comedy.
I used to play here.
Noah.
I used to be here. And they hated
loss
me.
for the Sixers. What did you think of that last possession, Noah? Like I said, Coach Lynham thought that the Pistons did a great job of staying in front. And obviously they're 7-2 for a reason. They got some great camaraderie and stick-to-itiveness when it comes to the defensive end. But when you look at that, last possession, they had a tough last possession a couple of games ago where Tyrese Maxey was kind of off balance and didn't quite get a good look at the rim. What do you make of last night? Do you see any themes or things that stick out to you?
Yeah, there's been a few games that have come down to the buzzer and they've been unsuccessful. The one in Chicago, Quentin Grimes got a great look to win the game. So by my count, they're sort of 1 for 3 with execution. But absolutely the one where Maxey, Embiid was trying to get up that look at the buzzer was poor execution. And last night was pretty bad as well. I think the idea was fair enough. It was a possession starting with, I think, 17 on the clock. So the idea was just get the ball to Kelly Oubre, see if he can score quickly downhill, then start the foul game and just extend it. But Detroit sort of forced the Sixers out of their intended plan. And then at a certain point, I was surprised the Pistons didn't foul. There's 5 or 6 seconds on the clock. I think most teams' philosophy would be to foul there, but of course, there's always some risk if you haven't discussed that in the huddle. And the absolute worst case scenario is you foul a team and they sort of grift, 3-point attempt behind the line. So, not good. It's going to be a learning process with clutch situations. They've been in a lot of close games, which I think can only help down the line. But it needs to be better than that moving forward. You have to at least sort of give yourself a reasonable chance to tie the game or win the game, depending on the scenario. And that's not what the Sixers are looking for. I think last night that they did a lot of good stuff, given it was the second night of a back-to-back, but absolutely
not enough to win, right?
Yeah, the way that last possession unfolded does make it sting, I think, a little bit harder because you just want to give yourself a chance, and it didn't feel like they did that there. They'll hope to be better moving forward. That's all you can really say.
Yeah, Sixers team will see this Pistons team once again in short order. NBA Cup game next Friday in Detroit. We'll see if Tobias Harris will be in that game, looking for a little bit of 3-point revenge on Tyrese Maxey, or how it will transpire, particularly with how close this game was between these two teams. Let's pay some bills and show some love to our title sponsor. We'll get into a lot more about Joel Embiid, Adem Bona, as well as some more on where this team is sitting right now in the NBA Eastern Conference. But be sure to achieve your academic goals and pursue your dream career. Wilmington University is the place where you can get that done. Your dream is our mission. Learn more at wilmu.edu. Joel Embiid's minutes restriction has been bumped up to 25 minutes a game, although he had been hovering and getting close to that. So maybe 25 actually might mean 25 to 30, more so that might mean 20 to 25. But we'll see how that plays out. But the Boston Celtics on tap tomorrow night. Right now, guys, as it stands, we've seen Adem Bona start against the Cleveland Cavaliers and have some other opportunities. That wasn't the best showing for me for Dembona, although he did have some great moments there with the steal and a couple of clear path opportunities. But there was a nice pass from Maxey from the 3 to the paint that kind of, I'm saying all this to say sometimes it feels like the games are moving a little too fast for him.
Yeah.
Where he kind of gets caught up in just how the action is flowing rather than trying to stay grounded and play his game. He dropped that pass from Maxey, which, anybody could have dropped it, but you compound that with some of the other turnovers. So it really makes me feel like him coming off the bench is a better role in a lot of instances, but you're hoping to see Joel Embiid obviously retake his role as a starter and be dominating those front court minutes. We talked a bit in the previous podcast about the identity of the team and how they play when Embiid's on the floor and when he's not. The Raptors team went really small. The Sixers outplayed them, outscored them. They were quicker. They shot the ball better and beat the Raptors kind of at their own game. Which version of the Sixers are you leaning more toward here at this point, Amy? I don't think we got your thoughts on just how they looked with Joel on the floor, how they look when he's not on the floor. Obviously, it's a minutes restriction, and he has been pouring in points per minute at an incredible clip. But it's a different style of play when he's out there. And are you more amenable to that, or do you like what you've seen with Embiid not on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some pros and cons to both. When you watch how this team started and the pace with which they played, you thought, well, that's how they're going to be able to win these games, these non-Embiid games. So I like aspects of it. But you hear, and I know you guys see it on social media about like, oh, this team, they're better without Joel Embiid. That sentence to me sounds ridiculous when I read it. And then when I hear people say it, I find it very hard to believe that a team was ever going to be better when there's a player available like Joel Embiid, because there's no one really quite like Joel Embiid. In the Raptors game specifically, that's the most athletic that we've seen him be. He ran the court a couple different times. I mentioned that he was scoring inside. That's another thing that you really look for as far as his footwork and how he's able to move around. He scored almost all of his buckets either as 2-pointers or as free throws in that game. And that's not because he was a free throw monger. He wasn't like racking up 18 for 18 free throws. It was because he was going inside and getting and ones or being fouled when he was down in that, the paint area. So for me, that was the best game as far as integrating him in this offense. It's not realistic to say that he's going to run the court every single time like Tyrese Maxey or VJ Edgecombe. That's not realistic for any big man, really for a lot of the forwards too, to be honest. I mean, those guys are very fast. But I think it is realistic for you to see the flashes of him being able to move around like that and to be a bit of a trailer. So when the bucket doesn't go in at first glance, he is out there and then they could reset their offense. So there's not going to be an iteration of the Sixers that I think is going to win any kind of playoff series where Joel Embiid is not a contributor. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I know there's people out there that believe that. I respect their opinions. I can't see it. I don't know how that would work. To have a talent like that, and just to think that it's not viable to win with him just because you want to play this up and down, really fast paced. The Pacers last year, they played a very fast paced, style. They still had time to reset and use their big men and use the inside. So I feel like that there's a happy marriage in between both. And I thought the Raptors in that game, you saw the glimpses that you would need. Now it would look different against a team that had a little bit more size. But I think the offense would look a little bit more different against a team that had a little bit more size. You might not try to just, outrun them all the time because you'd be staring at a bunch of trees.
Yeah, I feel like the Cleveland game, they could have definitely used him.
Yes.
But,
that would have been really nice to go against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley because you mentioned Dembona. He did not perform very well in that game at all. That's a tall task. Those are two very elite shot blockers, rim runners, rim defenders. Those are very good big men right there.
Especially when Evan Mobley's hitting from outside like that. Like he's stroking threes and playing defense. A really, and they get all their guys back in that same game. So definitely was stacked against the Sixers.
Garland was in that game. It was his first game. So that's tough. But hopefully I don't know that we'll ever see Joel in these back-to-backs, though. No, refresh my memory. Was it 3 years ago that he did play in a few of those and he talked about how much he liked it because you could get into a rhythm? Was that just back-to-backs or was that just him talking about how he likes to play? I can't remember. I feel like I saw him playing back-to-backs in the somewhat recent memory, not like last year or
not last year, but I'm pretty sure the year prior,
yeah,
he was still hardline on that stance of I want to play as much as possible, and okay, injuries are kind of pop up, but my strong preference is always to play. And now I think there's been an acceptance that that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
However, I think he remains stubborn in being strongly opposed to the minutes restriction and very eager to see that lifted ASAP.
Yeah. I mean, 29 points in 26 minutes. Sorry, Danny. I mean, what else could you want from him? It was a great effort, and he's very efficient too.
Noah, do you have a vision for how it can work with Joel? Are you thinking like 30 minutes a game, skewing more towards those down the stretch minutes, or where do you see the happy medium between making sure he's on the floor when it matters and utilizing his skill set and being able to get the most out of him?
Well, to me, that would be entirely contingent on health with the minutes. Like if the knee's really responding well and the medical folks are confident that there's not increased risk, why would he not play, 33, 34 minutes a game? I mean, he's one of the best players on the team. So yeah, that would be pretty straightforward to me. As far as how they use him, Nick Nurse's buzzword this year has been variety. And I think Nurse is always trying to scheme unpredictability. So the hope and the vision for this team is that you never quite know what you're going to get. And I think the idea is that when Embiid's available and he enhances that, he gives the Sixers a dominant post-up threat, someone who is a great jump shooter for a big man, all these skills that Joel Embiid possesses. So that's the idea. I think it's very sound, and I agree. Yeah, the Raptors game was the best the Sixers have sort of fit that concept thus far. And yeah, I think it's easier to do all that stuff when Joel Embiid is not playing with any caution, when he's regularly drawing free throws, and when he's looking like an MVP-ish version of himself. I mean, it was interesting after that game, Nick Nurse, just in discussing the allocation of Embiid's minutes, said, they've considered, do they want to bring him in when the team's in the bonus at the ends of quarters? And I think that does make a lot of sense if Joel Embiid is in that mode where he's just kind of unstoppable and he's drawing free throws at will. So, whenever Embiid can sort of turn to those elite skills that make him, a mismatch nightmare, I think the Sixers are obviously tougher to stop. And I think, very importantly, they're also just a more diverse team that is playing with the variety Nick Nurse is looking for.
Joel Embiid in the locker room after that Raptors game mentioned a comparison to Trendon Watford and said he reminded him of Ben Simmons, just somebody out there doing it all. It was a
good one.
How about that? It had to surprise you guys on the postgame show, Amy.
He had to, and he almost like said it right away, and was like, and that's good, because he wanted to make sure it was
right. People understood.
He was like, it was that, and that's good, and that's good.
I still remember the good times of Ben Simmons.
Listen, some people have to go further back in the recesses to remember that he was a walking triple-double. He was a very viable basketball player, an all-star, a defensive juggernaut. When the wheels came off, it was all of the wheels and the doors and the windows, and like the rear view mirror was hanging, and it turned bad quickly. But it was funny the way he said that, because he smiled, and because everybody was like, oh, like that's almost like the who shall not be named. So right. They said Ben Simmons, and that's good, It's a triple double, and I was like, okay, you got there quickly, Joe. We appreciate you getting there quickly. But I will point out that when you watch those post-game comments from Joel and you see him, kind of not cracking jokes, because there was the other joke was like, is that it? And he gets up to leave. Like, these are good signs. That is a good sign of a locker room for me to see Joel. After last season, there's nothing worse to me than seeing a sad Tyrese Maxey. And that's what we saw a lot of last year. That locker room was tough. And even after a loss or even after some of the struggles they've had, it's nice to see these guys that are still, having a little fun. Like it's fun. Andre Drummond talks about his dog being there, his actual dog. He had to clarify, which I thought was great.
And it was so obedient. It was so obedient.
He's like, my actual dog is here. And we're like, I'm sorry, what?
Bob Marley. There
you go. So like when Joe said that, of course, you could tell, like, I would have loved to have heard like if we had the audio up outside of he said Ben Simmons, but he's like, it's good because it was, it's, to have a guy have a forward, have a triple double. That's ideal for what this team wants to do as far as spacing and sharing the ball.
Yeah. Andre Drummond's dog, Bob Marley, ran across my feet on the way to the podium. So that's never something I thought I would experience.
Didn't have that on your bingo card?
Yeah, at a post-game press conference. But yeah, Drummond is one of those guys who lightens the mood, and I would absolutely agree. It's been way less doom and gloom in there, and I think even after losses, there's an understanding of generally they're playing the right way and they're building something positive here, and they're just not trying to climb out of this deep, depressing hole in the standings where they're already a million games below 500. 10 games into the season, which is what it felt like last year. So. Yeah, I think the vibes are much improved on that front. And yeah, with Trendon Watford, I'll note he's got 32 more triple doubles to notch if he wants to match Ben Simmons. So that is a reminder of just how active Ben Simmons was in his heyday. And I would not be surprised though if Trendon Watford posts another triple double or two this season. I think he has shown that potential. And Maxey said, obviously he was proud of Watford. He was happy with the performance, but this is who he is. He's capable of this. And Maxey has a lot of belief in his good friend to continue improving as a player and posting some big numbers.
Listen, the triple-double was one of the reasons I fell in love with basketball as a kid. I was a big Magic Johnson guy, so seeing that type of flair with the no-look passes with Ben Simmons and, him, the assists, to get on the rim and the whole 9 yards, that's part of the reason why I enjoy hoops, watching that style of play, the unselfishness and the court vision, the awareness, the high basketball IQ. That's part of the reason that, I really fell in love with hoops. But can Joel Embiid, Trendon Watford, the ghost of Ben Simmons help the Sixers in the third quarter, guys? They are at the top of the league when it comes to the first, second, and fourth quarters when it comes to scoring ranks. They are near the bottom of the league and ranks in the third quarter at 30th. So I'm just, this has been an issue that has lingered for a while with this team, and different players have come and gone, different coaches have come and gone. So it's not necessarily something for me, I can pinpoint one particular thing, like, oh, it was the transition defense for a long time. And then, the scoring is down, and, how they're coming out of the locker room. Like, have you guys seen anything that you can pinpoint that has told you a story about why the third quarters have been so bad for this team? Definitely something that they need to capitalize on. And we've seen them play well in third quarters this season, but the theme has been in third quarters.
Have we seen it? They've lost 9 of 10 third quarters.
Is that the
9
number?
of 10. 9 of 10. And in
we
five
saw them play. We saw them play one good third quarter.
One good quarter. 5 of those 10, they've lost the third quarter by 10 or more points. Like it's problematic. I mean, they
feel like the Orlando game was the one, maybe the one where they
got. Maybe this is the one. There you go. Yeah. They won 1 of 10. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's different reasons for. Like last night against the Pistons, it was turnovers were a real problem. They had a lot of turnovers in that third quarter. They had empty possessions. I mean, Nick Nurse has been asked about it. I don't know that they have the exact answer. It's very confounding, but it's, if you're a betting person, the chances of you betting on the other team in the third quarter, you would probably, it wouldn't be a real good bet as far as seeing a high return on your money because the Sixers have been atrocious. I know turnovers were a problem. Obviously, some of the lack of maybe just execution on some of it, I'm not entirely sure. It's very confounding. I'll be anxious to see what it looks like against the Celtics tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two main theories would be, number one, teams finally get a handle on how the Sixers are playing. This is a very different style than last year. So I think we have seen some games where teams appear kind of taken aback by the pace and the fact that VJ Edgecombe is really good and ridiculously athletic for a rookie. And then obviously there are some schematic adjustments at halftime, but there's also just that mental adjustment of, okay, this is what we're in for. And teams, just get a feel for how to sort of contain this really pacey Sixers offense. And then the second reason for me is just Tyrese Maxey. The pattern has been that he sits at the end of the third quarter, and the Sixers have been terrible in those minutes. I mean, they've had a really hard time treading water when Maxey is on the sidelines. It feels like the story we told about Joel Embiid for many years. And Nick Nurse has tinkered with lineups and ideas in those minutes, but they've consistently been poor. So to me, those are, yes, there's like been a variety of reasons why they've lost third quarters. But after trying to figure it out, those stand out to me as the two main themes. Some of it's correctable, I would assume. I think, they'll try to be a better halftime adjustment team and sort of get a sense of what new schemes teams are using against them that perhaps weren't, as prevalent last year. And then some of it with Maxey is like, he can't play 48 minutes a game. So the guys who are trying to keep it together when he's out just need to make more shots and get more stops and kind of do the basics right. And I think in all likelihood that we'll see some improvement. I wouldn't expect them to be the worst third quarter team in the league. But there are some inevitable, unavoidable challenges when you've got this player who's been one of the best in the NBA and he's resting, during that period. So hard for the Sixers to handle, but absolutely better job needs to be done.
If only they had another player along with Embiid and Maxey that was like possible all-star caliber, max level type guy that could come in and like make an impact. Oh, Paul George could come back and make an impact with this team. Is there any lingering feeling with you guys that George might upset the apple cart a bit or have trouble fitting in? Or are you optimistic in the idea of what he brings to this team and how he'll be able to, be a part of what they're doing right now and integrate into the system? Because, you're hoping to get some type of contribution from him that makes a difference with this squad. But do you feel like that is, how realistic is that?
I think it's very realistic. I don't think they need him to carry a huge load, provided Tyrese Maxey stays healthy, Joel Embiid stays healthy. I think the main void he needs to fill is providing size and providing high caliber defense. And Nick Nurse has also talked about George being a guy who's really helpful as far as organizing your defense and communicating and sort of being a captain out there on the floor. And I think in all likelihood, we see those contributions from him. I think still an open question whether he can be a better offensive player, whether he looks a little more athletic, a little more healthy than last year when he ultimately does return. But I don't think there's this ultra high bar he needs to clear in order to be a valuable addition for the Sixers. So I think they've been wanting him back. Nick Nurse said, I'm like all of Sixers Nation and kind of waiting for him to get that green light. And I think he'll help. It's just a question of whether he's a big boost for them offensively. But I think overall, he's still a good player and he should help them.
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively, he's going to bring the most to the table on that end. Another wing defender, especially in the East, is going to be, exceptionally important. But the days of him needing to score 27 points, that would be great. But I think realistically, you get 18 to 22 from him, and that's going to contribute in the way that he's going to space the floor, still be a viable offensive threat, but not a guy that you need to rely on to carry your offense. You have other guys that can do that now. And I think, he will be able to contribute and they will find a way. He's been practicing. That's the thing. People, I know we don't see it, but he's been practicing with this team for several weeks now. So it's not like when he gets thrown out there, he's just been like, oh, is this how you guys play? So I think that's something we need to remember. There's a lot that's been going on kind of behind the scenes, so to speak, the last couple of weeks.
And those are great points. I just am afraid. I just need efficiency.
It's a viable thing to be afraid of, to be honest. I need a little efficiency.
I don't need 3 for 16, 4 for 14. We just need some efficiency in his time out there where he's making good decisions and being a better version of himself. So there's really not much else to say beyond that, but hopefully he does integrate into this system effectively. And hey, we appreciate you guys tuning into the Sixers Talk podcast. It is the Boston Celtics on tap tomorrow night. 3rd time already this season, which is a little weird, but hopefully the Sixers can win this rubber match between these two teams and take it in stride into their game against the Detroit Pistons on Friday. But for Amy Fadool and Noah Levick, I'm Danny Pommells. Thanks for listening and watching to the Sixers Talk podcast, brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilmu Works. We'll see you next time.